If your son or daughter came to you today and said, "Dad, I want to borrow $100,000 to get a degree," would you tell them yes? Don't answer too quickly, because right now that question isn't hypothetical anymore. It's the question every parent, every student, and every working professional is going to have to answer. Just days ago, the Financial Times reported that graduate job postings are falling in both the United States and the United Kingdom. Employers are shifting. They're moving toward skills-based hiring, toward practical experience, toward people who can actually do the work, degree or no degree. So the debate is officially open, and I want you in it. Now, before you assume where I'm going, let me tell you who's talking. I'm an engineer. After 20 years managing multi-million-dollar engineering assets in aerospace and oil and gas, I've reviewed thousands of resumes. I've hired, I've fired, I've watched brilliant people with degrees get passed over for promotion, and brilliant people without degrees get handed the keys. So let me make my position crystal clear, because I don't want you to misunderstand me. I don't believe every young person needs college, but I also don't believe the social media influencers who tell every young person college is useless. Both statements are intellectually lazy. The honest answer? College is an investment, and like every investment, it's either a good deal or a bad deal, depending on the numbers. So let's actually run the numbers like an engineer would. Most people never actually run the numbers. They treat a degree like a life milestone instead of a financial decision. But think like an engineer. Think like an investor. You don't buy a building because it feels good. You don't sign a contract because everyone else is signing one. You ask 5 questions. Question 1. What's the cost? Not just tuition, the full cost. 4 years of tuition, room and board, books, fees, plus the income you don't earn while you're studying. In the United States, that number can easily reach $100,000 or more, before you've earned a single dollar from it. Question 2. What's the expected return? What does the average graduate in that field actually earn? Not the top 1%, the average. Because if the career pays $40,000 a year and the debt is $100,000, you're not investing, you're digging a hole. Question 3. What's the career? This is where people get vague. They say, "I'll figure it out." And that vagueness costs 6 figures. Before you borrow $100,000, you should be able to name the job, the actual title, you're buying your way into. Question 4. Does that career actually require the degree? Here's the part nobody says out loud. Some careers do. You are not going to become a doctor, a lawyer, or a licensed professional engineer without the degree. The door is locked, and the degree is the key. There is no shortcut. But a lot of careers don't require it. And in those careers, you're not buying a ticket. You're buying a 4-year delay. Question 5. What alternatives exist? This is the question that changes everything. Trade school, engineering apprenticeships, industry certifications, technical training, 2 years at community college, then university, entrepreneurship, the military. The list is longer than most 18-year-olds have ever been shown. Now let me put real numbers on this because an example is worth more than a speech. Take 2 18-year-olds standing side by side. The first borrows $100,000 to study a general business degree, graduates in 4 years, and walks into a job market that is no longer waiting for him. The second goes into a 2-year electrical program, carries almost no debt, and by year 3 is a licensed apprentice earning real money while his former classmate is still polishing a resume. Run that out 10 years. The second young man has 0 loan payments, 7 years of income, and a trade that travels anywhere. The first is still paying down interest on a bet he never actually calculated. Now, I'm not telling you which one of those young men is more successful. I'm telling you only one of them counted the cost. And that is the whole point. And 2,000 years ago, Jesus framed this exact decision using the language of an engineer. For which of you, intending to build a tower, does not sit down first and count the cost? Count the cost. Before you build, Before you borrow, before you commit 4 years and $100,000 to a single decision, count the cost. That is not a motivational quote. That is a decision-making framework. It's the same question I ask before I greenlight a capital project, because the worst time to find out a project doesn't work is after you've already spent the money. Let me tell you what I've actually seen in the hiring room, because this is where the theory meets the road. I have watched a manager set down 2 resumes, one from a man with a master's degree and no work history, one from a man with no degree and 5 years of ship projects, real budgets, real deadlines, real accountability. 9 times out of 10, the second man gets the interview. Not because the degree doesn't matter, because the proof does. A degree is evidence you could sit in a classroom and pass a test. Experience is evidence you can deliver under pressure. When a company is hiring, it's buying the second thing. Now let me give the other side its due, because I told you I'm not lazy about this. A degree still opens doors that experience alone cannot. Certain companies won't even read your resume without one. Certain countries won't grant you a visa without one. Certain professions are legally closed without one. And for some students, college is exactly where they find their faith, their network, and the person they're going to become. So I'm not telling you to skip it. I'm telling you to stop treating it like a default. The problem was never college. The problem is that we stopped asking whether college is the right investment for this student, in this field, at this price. And here's what I'd tell my own child. I wouldn't say yes or no to the degree. I'd say, show me the plan. Show me the career. Show me the return. Because $100,000 isn't a celebration of your potential. It's a bet on a specific outcome. And you should know the odds before you make it. Here's the mistake I see parents make. They confuse wanting the best for their child with signing the biggest check. But love doesn't mean eliminating every difficult conversation. It means having them. The family that sits down and runs the numbers together isn't discouraging the student. They're doing what a board of directors does before a major acquisition. They're counting the cost. And the student who does this, who can defend their decision with real numbers instead of a shrug, is already ahead of 90% of their peers. Not because they're smarter, because they're intentional. That's the whole lesson. Education is not good or bad. It's either leveraged or it isn't. So here's my question for you, and I genuinely want your answer in the comments because this is a debate worth having. If you had an 18-year-old graduating today, what would you recommend? College, trade school, an apprenticeship, entrepreneurship, or something else entirely? And more importantly, why? Not the politically correct answer, your real answer. Because somebody watching this video right now is about to borrow $100,000, and your answer might be the one that makes them stop and actually count the cost. I'm Eric Donaldson. Follow me for leadership, engineering, and building a legacy that actually lasts. I'll see you in the comments.